And we are joined by Oropouche East MP and UNC Shadow Minister of National Security and Housing, Dr. Roodal Moonilal. The Lion roars tonight. Pleasant good evening to you.
Hi, good evening, Mikey. Good evening to all your listeners.
Yes,
and those in the studio. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
Always a pleasure to have you on. I know it's been quite a hectic day. 5 hours, 13 minutes. That was, of course, the duration of last Monday's budget presentation. And so far, the budget debate has been fiery. We're hearing all kinds of things about who paid who and who did what and what have you. But getting down to the bread and butter of the issue, what was your main takeaway?
Well, the main issue is that, notwithstanding the $59 billion budget and all the talk and the plans and so on that they continually repeat, not much will change in terms of the critical issue of crime and insecurity. The government had no new focus, no new policy initiatives, no new programs to announce to deal with crime. I mean, and it was almost it was so, hypocritic that, they announced the purchase of 2,000 vehicles, while in the last fiscal year they could not even buy one. And we have what could be about 500 police vehicles in a state of disrepair. So it's a crisis of implementation, and notwithstanding anything announced, nothing will change for the better. As you have heard, I mean, there's now one vessel that is operational to protect the coast of Trinidad and Tobago, and that is the most feeble admission that we have received so far. So the main takeaway is that nothing will change for the better. We must brace ourselves for a worse situation, and this hopelessness and helplessness on the part of the population will continue, at least for the short term, before the next election.
Yeah, you are the Shadow Minister of National Security. Murder toll stands at 504, and I'm glad you mentioned about the vehicles. But one has to ask the question, I mean, nothing has been laid out for any increased revenue generation, but we have been told to tighten our belt and hold on until 2027. Why does this administration seem so confident to make these statements in light of the reality that we are facing as citizens?
Well, their 2027 means nothing, because, I mean, if they are tagging that dragon gas and new sources of revenue, that will not happen in 2027. The Minister of Finance is telling you, Mikey, to buy a lotto ticket, but it's not drawing this week, it's drawing in 2027. So keep it on hold straight. That is not good enough. I mean, there's no new revenue. The government has failed in 9 years to attract significant foreign direct investments, to create jobs, to create, the income flow, to generate critical foreign exchange. I mean, this is the problem. They closed down the refinery that was a source of foreign exchange, and today, we cannot generate the foreign exchange to sustain economic growth and investment. And there's a colossal collapse of the economy, and as you know now, with far-reaching social implications, the type of crime we are seeing, the diabolical nature of crime is really a product, in part, of the economic collapse of the country. And that is something that we have to address in due course. So that, as I keep saying again, it was 5 hours and 12 minutes, but it was completely lacking in substance, lacking in focus, and lacking in critical new policy initiatives.
Yeah, you've always, of course, kept us abreast on this Mosquito Creek roadway, and now you're still querying the $65 million. Yeah.
Well, as you know, we had asked for 2 years for the report on this Mosquito Crack. We finally got it. I had it in my hand as a cabinet document, which we received from a source elsewhere, not the government. And it was shocking that to fix this part of what's called Package 5A of the San Fernando to Point Fortin Highway, to fix that alone is $65 million plus the cost of paving to repair. And when we looked at the technical report, the cause of the repair was a flawed design, that they changed the design. We had a particular design when we started. When they came into office, they actually changed the design and removed what is called wick drains. And a significant amount of drainage from that leg of the highway, and that caused the collapse of the highway, and now $65 million plus to repair the highway. This is scandalous. It is a shame. I think someone should be held now criminally accountable for this negligence.
Yeah, I think what stands out most of all, there was a lot of talk about the most vulnerable and those people who would be happy, or those at the bottom of the economic ladder. When you have the Social Development Minister, Donna Cox, saying that measures were aimed at increasing financial stability, food security, and education opportunities among vulnerable communities and young people. She was given her contribution on the financial appropriation bill in the House. Again, how out of sync is this administration with the reality that citizens are facing on a daily basis?
I think they are living on another planet, so to speak. They cannot be in the same space that we are operating in, where people don't have food on their table, they cannot afford school supplies for their children. They don't have jobs. We have in this country graduates without employment. We have a high level of destitution. I don't have to tell you, the secondary school, the primary school system has collapsed. The health services have collapsed without medication in the critical medication at the public health facilities. They are not in the same space, and I mean, they have removed food cards from the poor and vulnerable, and the minister speaks as if everything is hunky-dory, and that is because, of course, they don't feel the suffering of ordinary citizens.
Yeah, now, shortlisted for the refinery, two of the companies have some question marks over them. We know the issue of Jindal. Now we're hearing, of course, the energy minister, talking about bid fraud claims on the, I believe
we have managed to put the energy minister on the ropes and on his back foot, because he came to Parliament with what he thought to be some bombshell that one of the bidders, Patriotic Energies, submitted a fraudulent documentation vis-a-vis a wire transfer. And the question we now ask is, how did he get hold of that? He ought not to have been involved in the process. It is supposed to be an independent, impartial process. And his involvement by having the alleged knowledge of what is happening suggests that that entire process is tainted, it is polluted, and it ought to be quashed in the public interest.
Yeah, moving forward, what are we looking at? I mean, you're talking about when you look at what the opposition leader has made it quite clear, there's absolutely nothing in the short term, medium term, or long term as far on the agenda.
The situation will get worse. We are looking at the situation worsening. All we can do is ask the people to mobilize, to organize, keep our movement in a high state of readiness. And when the general election is called, we are within 1 year of that. Whenever it's called, we must mobilize the population sufficiently to remove them and return good governance, institutional strength and integrity in public institutions, and return this country to some semblance of hope, stability, security, and prosperity.
Have you been interacting with folks that you've seen this change that many have been asking for?
Yes, we have been interacting with persons, and I can tell you from my knowledge and words and interaction and discussion, conversation with people across the board, I believe that the country is ready now to reject Dr. Rowley and his government.
All right, I know you had a long day. Closing comments,
Sure.
Go right ahead.
Yes, as I said, thank you very much for the invitation, and keep on doing this national service to the country and the population. We on our side will continue the work. We just finished our budget debate for the day. We meet again, I believe, at 1:30 tomorrow. Then the standing committee, I ask you to take note of the standing committee that should be called on Friday for the next 4 or 5 days. Critical information will be coming out as per ministry. So look forward to that. And thank you very much. Good night and God bless.
God bless. Have a good one.
Okay.